Hi everybody, this is Dee at Aloha Astro, and today we're looking at a new moon and a solar eclipse occurring in the mutable air sign of Gemini, June 10th, 2021. And it occurred exactly at 6:53 this morning Eastern Time at 19 degrees 47 minutes of Gemini. So let's take a look at the forecast that I wrote actually 2 days ago. Yesterday we were pretty much in the same aspect patterns. The exactness of the new moon had not occurred yet, but we were definitely building up to it, and the tension was there. So, new moon in Gemini, Wednesday, June 9th and Thursday, June 10th, focuses your attention on generating plans pertaining to travel, education, or socializing, and encourages you to use imagination, curiosity, and flexibility to revise your future life story, as the moon in the mutable air sign joins the destiny-determining north node on Wednesday before joining the Sun and Mercury retrograde in Gemini on Thursday for an annual solar eclipse. The planetary aspects do not vary much between the 2 days, so expect Thursday to feel much the same as Wednesday, with the usual emotional intensity of a new moon amplified by a solar eclipse. Expect quirky reality-checking twists as the Gemini node and planets form a trine to Sirius Saturn in future-oriented and unpredictable Aquarius, while a square aspect to Neptune in Pisces can bring the potential for a mystical or spiritual occurrence or connection. Gemini is a thinking sign, but Neptune opens the door to intuition and telepathy. Many things can be influenced now by your thoughts and feelings. So be conscious of your overall vibration and work to keep it moving higher by degrees. Stay positive even in the face of adversity or situations that seem beyond your control, because not everything may be as it appears at first glance, and the story isn't finished just yet. Gemini is the air sign of childlike excitement and wonder, so if something or someone gives you that inner uplift of anticipation and delight, trust the feeling and follow it, and if not, don't go there. Benevolent Jupiter in Pisces, quincunx to Mars in nurturing Cancer, indicates there are opportunities and resources available for you when you take the initiative to improve your life or ask for help. And consider yourself fortunate when you are able to help others. So that's the general view that I got from looking at what's going on. Let's take a look at the positions of the planets and see what we have going on there, where we can see the various aspects. The interesting thing is that we have all the faster moving planets here in the Gemini Cancer zone, and Mars is just at the tail end of Cancer, about to tip over into fiery Leo. And so we've got this air and water down here in Gemini, Cancer. We have a little bit of energy here with Taurus, Uranus and Taurus, but the rest of the slower moving planets are all off on the other side of the chart. Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, Saturn in Aquarius. Now Jupiter is there in Pisces, but it's about to do some backwards motion. We're entering the summertime retrogrades here with Jupiter and Saturn. So let's get some dates going on. June 20th, we're going to see Jupiter turn retrograde on the 20th, and then it will go back into Aquarius at the end of July, the 29th. So you will notice a shift. Some of your opportunities and growth may slow a little bit, or you might go back toward things you've wanted to do in the past, particularly while we have a switch over from Mercury turning direct on the 22nd, and then Jupiter goes retrograde. If you're thinking about it and you're going over the plans and the details of something that perhaps was going to give you growth or abundance in the past and you never followed through, now you're considering the options and you might go back toward it and bring it forward during that retrograde season. Work on it slowly, maybe even introduce it and it may take a little bit of a while before everything's fully integrated and accepted, or you see the fruits of your labor. In October, we have both Saturn and Jupiter come out of retrograde. There could be revisions along the way before you know for sure which direction something is headed, or before you see the profits and everybody accepts the changes you've made, or whatever it is that you are working toward. So by the middle of October, both Saturn and Jupiter have come out of their retrogrades. But expect a little bit of a slowdown or reworking of things even beyond Mercury going direct, while we have these two slower moving planets going through their retrograde during July, August, September. And we've got Neptune here in Pisces, and that is going to be giving you even more of a Mercury retrograde feeling. It is in a mutable water sign. Mutable means flexible, adaptable, changeable. It's great for facilitating networking, looking at multiple points of view. Pisces in the sign, Neptune in the sign of Pisces is extremely imaginative. Great imagination, lots of escapism as well. It's how you would like things to be versus how maybe they really are, but whatever you place your attention upon does grow. That square going on to Mercury retrograde throws a little more confusion or lack of knowing what is really the correct path, or which ideas you have will come to fruition. I get the feeling of like popcorn popping all over the place, and you can't do everything. You're not going to be able to do everything. I also don't think it's the time to make definitive decisions. In a way, being a little more passive and watching and waiting to see which way things turn may be helpful today and even early tomorrow as you come out of this new moon and eclipse intensity and the moon shifts over into Cancer tomorrow. Give it until midday tomorrow before you decide something finally. If you have something you have to decide on and they're expecting an answer very quickly, then give yourself until after lunchtime and kind of get your steadiness from the moon moving forward in Cancer, which is a cardinal sign. And as it approaches Venus later on in the afternoon, you will know more about what you really want. And that may help you to make decisions. Will you be 100% happy? I don't know. We've got a square going on here to Chiron and Aries. Sometimes we make decisions based on lesser of two evils, or even if we're not so sure whether we're going to be happy, we know we need to change or move forward. A lot of changes are being forced right now upon us, whether we like it or not, because of the square going on between Saturn and Uranus, and it's been going on for a while. I don't think it fades until further in July. I had looked at that a while ago and kept moving the days forward to see when that drops off, and it's something we're going to live with for a while, and I think it affects society as a whole. Of course, where it is in your own natal chart is going to make a difference in how you feel it personally, but this is having an effect on society, laws, government, and people, and how all of those intersect. So, a lot of tension in those areas, and it will continue in your own life. Look to see where you have Taurus and where you have Aquarius energy in your chart, and there's enforced change or the pressure to make changes, and then the slow and steady adaptation to the change and adjusting to new ideas, new ways of doing and being that you have to integrate into your life. Mars and Pluto, that's making even more intensity. They're both volatile planets and generally fiery in nature, and we only have another day or so of Mars in Cancer, soon it will move into a fire sign. It will still be within orb of an opposition to Pluto in Capricorn. And Pluto in Capricorn can be very willful and very powerful, very determined. And when it's at odds with Mars, which is action-oriented, there may be enforced action because of pressure, whether it's external pressure or internal pressure. And some of that pressure may come from fear, that afraid of losing some sustenance. Cancer's very concerned with, home, family. The words need and feed are Cancer, and then Capricorn, status out there in the world, career, people in authority or power, whether it's you looking at what's going on in the world and being affected by news that's disturbing, and feeling powerless and being able to change bigger things in life, or whether it's looking at what's going on in your own life and wanting to feel like you're able to go after the things that you want to give you greater stability or security. There is a lack of stability and security right now, and that's partly because the majority of the faster moving planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, are sitting in mutable energy, and that creates that multiple options. So things may be changing very swiftly around you, or you have different options to look at, and you have to really tune in to energy. And then when you are picking up on things that might feel disturbing or negative, ask yourself where that's coming from. Is that true? Is it actually really that there's a threat, or that there's something bad or scary going on? Or is it something that you've allowed to come into your consciousness from somewhere else, and you never, check to see the validity of that news or information? A great deal of thinking and communicating is tied into Gemini. It's a very open-minded sign and very curious, and to some extent naive. It rules the third house in the chart, and that is early childhood education, formative ideas and imagination, your neighbors, your siblings, your local community. It is a travel and communication house, and a very social house. It is where you're coming into connections with people, or with knowledge and information, or where you're coming up with your own original things and wanting to share that with other people. So don't believe everything you hear while we have Mercury retrograde squaring Neptune in Pisces. And ask the questions and test your theories yourself and ask for proof. And if somebody gives you a recommendation for something, try it out and see. But don't just assume that whatever works for one person is going to work for you, or that it's even going to work. There's a kind of scientific, I've got to try it for myself and validate energy with this triangle you see going on with Chiron and self-aware Aries. Very intrepid and bold Aries energy. And Saturn in Aquarius, which is extremely analytical and does think about the future. And the Gemini energy here with that new moon and eclipse. And if you do decide to approach things head on and ask questions and seek truth and look for evidence of things, then you may be surprised by what you find. Don't be afraid to speak out and ask questions while we have that sextile going on. There is some passivity and sensitivity and support in terms of flow or intuition and psychic ability, but then we also have some rational and logical support here too, that I think comes from self-responsibility, thinking about what's important to you and asking questions. Whether you're asking questions of God, the universe, a partner, a stranger, it doesn't matter. But put things forward in a question format, and you are more likely to get answers, whether they come externally or internally through you from a connection, to other beings or your own spiritual guidance. That is possible as well, because we do have Neptune making a nice aspect to Pluto and a nice aspect to Mars. Where there is a will, a way will open up, and it may come through some sort of divine guidance or intervention. But you also have to put yourself in the spot of asking the questions, or making it a priority to slow down, sit, ask, listen, and then apply the answers that you get to see if they're going to hold true. So there's a lot of energy, and it's very mixed, and that can be both good and bad. Just be aware that it's kind of like being out on up in the air, perhaps, with a kite, and the winds keep shifting and changing directions, and you have to, really run around on your feet to keep that kite up in the air. But it also requires intense focus and concentration upon that kite and that string while you're doing that. I don't know if you've ever flown a kite, but you have to kind of connect yourself with that kite, that string, the ground you're on, and what's going on up in the sky, in the air. And it's a balancing act, and it's also about being in a type of perpetual motion while being centered. And that's what the planets are telling you to do today. And let's take a look at the Sabian symbol. We round up to 20 degrees of Gemini. A modern cafeteria displays an abundance of food, products of various regions. Keynote: the assimilation of multifarious knowledge through the synthesizing power of the mind. From the one, the many arise in due time. The original source gives birth to the mountain stream, which, gathering to itself the downflow of rainwater, becomes the large river around which cities are built. These in turn pollute the river on its way to the vast ocean. This modern symbol expresses the fact that man, now at the close of a cultural cycle, is able to gather foodstuffs, mental as well as physical, from many regions of the globe. His diet has acquired a planet-wide foundation. History tells us that the search for salt and spices, then for commodities rare in local regions, provided the impetus for global trade and thus eventually for a planetary consciousness. The results may be satiety and indigestion and mental confusion caused by lack of discrimination. This is the last symbol of the 16th fivefold sequence. As is most often the case, such a fifth stage implies a certain kind of synthesis, or at least a preparation which leads to a new level. The keynote here is indeed assimilation. The negative potentiality of the symbol is waste. Well, those are interesting things to think about. That definitely expresses the strong Gemini offering we have right now of so much to think about, so much to look at, so many options, and what's going to waste our time, or what's valid for us, what is going to feed us and sustain us, and what is not. And the assimilation, adaptation, Gemini does also make us want to fit in with our neighbors, our community, society as a whole, share our knowledge and information with others, and to also have our questions answered when we connect with other people, where we learn by hanging out with others. So I definitely can see the idea of cafeteria and an abundance of many different things, the open-mindedness of Gemini, that we're not looking through a narrow lens of, this is my diet, this is what I think, this is what I believe, Here we are open to all the different things that the world has to offer us. All right, I think we've gone over everything, and it's an interesting time. It's a very interesting time. I'm curious to see what the full moon, which I believe will be in Capricorn at the end of the month, is going to bring when we have a success-oriented sign with a lunar culmination, what types of seeds you plant at this new moon, especially under the influence of a retrograde Mercury. It's great for going over the details of your life and looking at all your possibilities. And perhaps you have to plant multiple seeds and then see what's going to grow and which one's going to be the hardiest plant by the end of the next 2 weeks when we get to the full moon. Anyway, if you're interested to know what's going on in your own chart, I am available. We can see where things are transiting for you at this time. And if I don't speak to you, then be safe, take care, especially in travels while Mercury is retrograde. And I will talk to you in 2 weeks at the full moon.